In this video, I am going to provide you with a few building codes you might not be familiar with when trying to drill some holes through the wall framing studs to install a new sink drain. So let's go ahead and take a look at the plumbing first, where we have a drain going from here down. Our vent will go from the top of the sanitary T and then of course through the roof. And that would look something like this. So in this house here, we have 3 roof vents. And if we go ahead and take a look at the other plumbing fixtures, which will also play an important role in whether or not you can add a new sink. And I'm not going to go into all of the details on how many plumbing fixtures you're allowed to use. I do have videos on that. And I'm guessing most of the time if you have a 2-inch or an 1.5-inch drain line that you're going to be able to connect your new sink to, you shouldn't have a problem. However, this might not be the case if you're adding a wash machine drain, because you're going to be getting a lot more volume of water through the drain. And since the minimum drain size for a wash machine drain is 2 inches and a sink is 1.5 inches, if we have a lavatory sink in a bathroom, then the minimum drain size is usually going to be 1.25 inches. However, I've never seen an 1.25 inch drain pipe. And even though the trap might be that size, I don't think I would ever use one for something that might be located inside of a wall, under a floor, or even worse, in a concrete slab, just in case there was any blockage in the drain because of the reduced diameter of the pipe. When it comes to pipes, larger is usually better. And I would also like to point out that the toilet might not be allowed to connect vertically like we're doing here, and might need to connect horizontally like we're doing here with the bathtub, depending upon what your local building codes are suggesting. And here is the sink drain setup I'm talking about that you shouldn't have any problem with as far as the plumbing is concerned. And you won't have a problem with this if you have 2x6 wall framing studs. And we have 2 different building codes here. We have one for a non-bearing wall and one for a load-bearing wall. And if we have a load-bearing wall, we're not allowed to notch more than 25% or 3/4 of an inch, or just a little over 3/4 of an inch in a 2x4 wall framing stud. So that method's out. Now when we go to drill a hole, the maximum size is going to be 2.1 inches, allowing us to install an 1.5 inch inside diameter plumbing pipe, which is what we're going to need for a lavatory sink drain or a kitchen sink drain. However, a 2-inch pipe down here will be out of the question, since the outside diameter is about 2 3/8 of an inch. And on a load-bearing wall, you cannot go more than 2 wall framing studs. And if you're going to be drilling a hole between 40 and 60% of the wall framing stud width, then you might need to double up the wall framing studs. And that's for a load-bearing wall, not for a non-load-bearing wall. I couldn't find anything that suggested we couldn't drill 2 holes like we have here, or even more in an interior non-load-bearing wall. And next up, let's go ahead and take a look at the drainage slope for the vent pipe. This needs to slope 1/4 inch per foot to allow any water or moisture that gets trapped in here to drain just like the rest of the water would towards your sewer or your septic tank. And this line right here also will need to drain 1/4 inch per foot, sloping towards the drain. And that the vent pipe right here needs to connect 6 inches above the highest fixture's flood rim. And that's usually going to be a kitchen sink that might be about 3 foot off of the floor. So make sure that the connection here to the vent pipe is at least 42 inches off of the floor. And you can always go higher, just don't go lower. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment area, and I will answer them as soon as possible.